Hello everybody and welcome to another round of the Virtual Circuit Racing TCR Championship here from Cadwell Park. We're just 3 rounds away from the end of our championship, final third of the season, and it's one of our non-reverse grid rounds here tonight from Cadwell Park. So very much looking forward to it once again. I'm Ewan O'Leary alongside Paul Glover for this round of the championship. We were just discussing, Paul, before we went live about how I don't think either of us have broadcasted a race here before. I think an unusual circuit, Cadwell Park, but I must say one that I do enjoy, or did enjoy driving on in the sim, before. But now we get to see some racing around here as well. Completely unsure, to be honest, as to how this might go. And the limits of the track don't seem to be just horizontal, actually. It's a vertical leap sometimes that you have to take around some of these corners, especially as you're going through the Hall bends towards the end of the lap. We'll go on a lap on board, actually, before we end this qualifying session. We've got 11 minutes to go and do that, just to get a bit of a flavour, because I understand that not everybody might actually be familiar with this circuit, but just while somebody gets to the start-finish line and we wait for them to do that, I'll just run through the championship standings for you, because we've got 3 more rounds remaining. It is Traffic King who leads the way with 300 points exactly. He finished tied 3rd in terms of the most points gained with Lee Southall last week. Southall goes down in 5th, and in between them Josh Haythwaite, who gained 2 points on King, and Luke Woodhouse, who gained 5. So they're both a little bit closer, but Haythwaite's still 58 behind and Woodhouse still 62 behind, which is quite a long way. Chris McIntosh, the only other driver within 100 points of the first position. There's a bit of a gap back from Southall then, who's in 5th place. Dave Price is next, ahead of Ben Hayes and Matthew Addy, then the only other driver over 100 points, and so on. So Traffic King's still very much in control of this championship, but this is last week anyway, was the first time really where he's been challenged over the course of an evening, I think, because he scored 65 points along with Southall. He lost points to Haythwaite and Woodhouse. I mean, hasn't lost any points to Josh Haythwaite, for example, since Monza, which was in the middle of August, 5 weeks ago now. So last week might have been an important round. We'll see whether it does end up being any sort of a turning point in this season, or whether he's just going to carry on as planned, Trafficking at Cadwell Park here today, entering the final third of the season. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. We do have drop score rulings, by the way, in this series. See if I can find them. Here we go. It was announced actually in the middle of, only a few days ago actually. On well, not the fact that there were going to be drop weeks, but I think the way that it was going to be applied was just finalised, I suppose. So just to explain how it's going to happen with the final stage of the season to come, 2 drop score rounds, which are the lowest scoring rounds, are deducted from everybody's point total. Any 2 race results can be dropped, including the reverse grid races, so someone can drop round 1, which is a single race event, also race 2 from a double race round, as it were. The last round of the championship can't be dropped, and so that just keeps things a little bit more interesting, with the potential for maybe a change of hands in the finale. And drop scores will be worked out going into the last round, so everybody knows where they stand. The standings I just read out do not include the drop round as things stand, as far as I'm aware, but it's your 2 lowest scoring races whether that's on a 1-race evening or a 2-race evening, that's where they're dropped. So it's a good indication to have, actually, because we haven't had that since the previous round. It's only just been finalised now in terms of being announced to anybody anyway. It's only just been finalised. So yeah, it's good to have that now for the drivers, and they've got something to aim for. But it looks like tonight, Trafficking is going to be using one of those, since he's not in the server anywhere to be seen. He certainly is, and made even more impressive by the fact that he's got the second most weight on board compared to anybody else. Woodhouse has got the first most, but he's not here either, as far as I can see. Or has he just not set a time yet? No, he's not here either. Okay, so top 2 in the championship, both, two of the top 3, I should say, both not attending tonight, which is a bit of a shame, but there you go. It's the way that it goes. As I mentioned, not a reverse grid round. The final of those will be at Brands Hatch in 1 week's time. That will set us up for our finale from Croft. It's normally Brands Hatch that brings the end to TCR Championships over in the UK, but it's going to be Croft this season for round number 9 as Heavyweight slides his way through the chicane there through 11 and 12, and he's sliding his way in towards the bends as well, when maybe he doesn't quite need to. Now he'll go through the S's, the whole bends as they're called, and over the jump just briefly before back down the other side and into the final couple of corners. Let's see if we can follow Heavyweight for a lap here with just less than 6 minutes to go, because he's setting the pace at the moment, and he's the one to show us around here tonight from Cadwell Park. Hopefully he carries on in towards turn number 1, a very fast corner, Coppice corner. Using a little bit of the grass there on the right-hand side just to get it turned in before turn 2 and 3. This is sort of never-ending, really, and there's absolutely no room for error here, and that is the case absolutely everywhere. Out now a little bit wide, wheels dipped on the grass there through Charlie's, which is turn 3. A couple of access roads that you pass there on the right-hand side before uphill through Park Straight and in towards Park Corner, which is turn 4, 90 degree effectively. Could be placed on a street circuit, this one, but we're very much not. This is Chris Curve through turn 5, a bit more of a flowing one, an open one. Back down the other side of the hill, now in towards Gooseneck, which is 6 and 7 over the rise. Back down the other side, very elevation, very much the elevation change circuit. Really steep downhill here, coming down into Mansfield, where I used to live. It's not to do with the place. Through the chicane and into turn 11, which is the mountain, and you'll see why in a moment. There's the steep hill. It seems that Heavyweight is using that as a bit of a strategy, really, to slide his way through there. As he plunges uphill there, where you can basically just see the sky. Now into Hall Bends, and these is where the rises and falls are as well. Have a look at this jump. Goodness me, that's a big jump. Now coming into the sharp right-hander at hairpin. Really tight hairpin, actually. And then Barn, which is a fast right-hander. And then the run to the line. Such a fascinating circuit to drive, I've got to say. The rises and falls make it absolutely brilliant to drive, and maybe even went a little bit quicker there, not entirely sure, but yeah, good way to show us around. Yeah, no, I can understand that, because it is. Yeah. And also, I think also, actually, it's to do with the racing line being very narrow. So you look at it, as you say, as we're riding on board there with it, well, anyone really, you look and you think, well, where are they going to find the space left and right? But actually, it's because you're sort of in the mind of they're on the racing line. There's not really many other ways to do these corners. It's not one of those corners, like Sunset Bend at Sebring, for example, where you've got a million ways to do it. All these corners are pretty much one way is fast and the other ways are not, and so when they're nailing it, it does look a lot like there's no space. But I do feel like we're going to be seeing this track off-board a little bit wider. As we run on board with Dave Price, by the way, we should give him a shout out and say happy birthday to Dave Price. He didn't tell us how old he was. But anyway, it's his birthday today, so happy birthday to him. And enjoying himself with a sim race this evening. Not sure how his family feel about that, but it's his birthday, so he's decided to come race with us, and so we thank him very much for that. Hopefully he has a good night at Cadwell Park tonight.
We've missed Chris McIntosh going faster than Josh, so he's currently taking the pole, and for the moment with a 1:30.5056, Josh Haythwaite with a 1:30.057.
Yeah, really close.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Really close.
That's absolutely incredible. Yeah.
I mean, I've only done a few rounds of this season, but every time I've been here, the top four especially, top 4 or 5-ish, have been really, really close. Rarely has first and second been quite as close as that, but you'd be hard pushed to get any closer between two drivers, first and second at the moment. It is really, really close at the front between McIntosh and Haythwaite. There's only a minute and a half left as well for Josh Haythwaite to get past McIntosh here, so let's see how he does as he now comes into the S's, again using a bit of grass. You can do so much of the grass, and then over the jump, you've got to get the landing right, almost like a rallycross section, that one, as you go over the jump and back down again. You see a lot of that in the sort of road/dirt racing, as Haythwaite now comes up towards the line. Less than a minute remaining in this qualifying session. Has he done enough on this last lap to overtake his rival? It doesn't quite look like it. McIntosh looking good now with less than a minute to go to just about squeak through with pole.
Yeah, and he's going faster at the moment by looks of it as well. He's currently predicted to hit the 1:29 as he slides the car there. A lot of sliding, sort of, during qualifying, it's all about trying to make the most of the speed and the tyre life that you've got. Obviously, you don't want to try and do that so much during the race. I'd be surprised if we see the drivers so aggressive, but yeah, he's on for going a little bit faster, and Josh isn't far behind either, I don't think so. But I think Chris has lost a little bit of time through this section, so I don't know if he'll be making an improvement, but he's on the cusp, that's for sure.
Absolutely. He's just seconds away from the time elapsing, and that'll make him feel a whole lot more comfortable. As McIntosh now comes up towards the line with the checkered flag, this will be the end of his session. Can he put this further out of reach and maybe give us a 29? It doesn't look like it. And Haythwaite doesn't seem to be going... is he going quicker? I'm not entirely sure, actually.
He is a little bit... according to my timing that I've got here, he's a little bit... He's on for a 1:29, a high 1:29 at the moment. Yeah, so he's up ever so slightly. It's marginal. So... and he's gaining time as he's coming out of the final corner. So, yeah, I think that's going to be pole.
Oh, nice. Yeah, well spotted. And he does take pole, Haythwaite, with a great lap there towards the end. 29.8, 0.2 of a second quicker than McIntosh in second place. Everybody pulls into the pit lane, and therefore Josh Haythwaite knows that he's taken the pole position, and he does a little bit of a slide through turn 2 to celebrate as well. He's just might as well has he as well, because that was a great lap time indeed from him to take that pole position. Again, it's a day like this that Haythwaite and some of the others, of course, who are trying to take advantage, I suppose, like Chris McIntosh as well, really need to have a good race and take advantage, as I say, of the fact that Traffic King isn't here today, and so you can't pass up opportunities like this, even with the drop week that will be applied surely from this race.
Yeah, because if you get a good result, then you can replace it with one of the rounds that you didn't have a great result. That's what I'm trying to say. I got the words out eventually. So an interesting one. I think that the start of the race is going to be interesting, because we've seen drivers taking quite wide lines. If you've got a car side by side, especially at the start of the race, I can't imagine they're going to be able to take the same lines that we've been seeing during practice and qualifying. So it could be an interesting first lap.
Yeah, it definitely could. you know, the start is effectively the only time where they'll be forced to try it side by side, but I think they'll be okay. I mean, the amount of grass they've all been using in qualifying there suggests to me that this is going to be a very a wider racetrack than it looks, maybe, with the way that they actually use it in these laps. So let's see on that, but it's very much going to depend on the launch you get, as always, off of the line, and then how you get on through the first couple of corners. But again, top four really close, as it always has been in this series. Just over half a second between Heathwaite, McIntosh and Price, and Lee Southall, who will line up in fourth position, and just over half a second behind. Not entirely sure why we're waiting at the moment, but this is a set of courser, and so you do have to wait a little bit of time for the session to move on, unfortunately, before we get to the end of qualifying. But Heathwaite has done a good job, and he will be very pleased with pole position here in front of McIntosh, and they'll do battling towards the very, very fast turn number 1. In fact, there's not really a big braking zone until you get to turn 4, so that will make things difficult. But there we go. There's the briefly the UI.
Yeah, it does. It does a switch over in a set of course. It did this between the practice session before qualified. It kind of switched, and then it didn't switch, and then it will load in to the next session. But I just want to point out, we've got 3 groups here, haven't we? We've got the top 4, and then we've got 5th, 6th, and 7th in their own little group, because they're only about half a second apart from each other. Then we've got the same between 8th, 9th, and 10th. So yeah, really close battling away. So as I try and there we go, click onto a different car.
See if we can see the front, but this might be just here we go.
Yeah.
As we look at the front, the lights are about to come on here in a moment. Of course, I have a slightly extended race because it's a one-race evening here in the Virtual Circuit Racing TCR Championship from Cadwell Park. The lights do go out now and we're underway, and there's already movement in the background. It's a very tight starting grid, a very narrow front straight, and a couple didn't get away so well, which has really created problems further down the field. But McIntosh challenges Heathwaite in towards turn number 1. Here comes Price right the outside through 2 and 3. He's surely going to hold his own round here with a bit of contact, maybe. No, McIntosh just gets caught up on the grass, and Price goes straight past him as they come up towards the Park straight now and in towards Park Corner itself. Turn 4. Southall not that far behind McIntosh, who feels the need to defend that 3rd place. So he's not challenging for the lead here, McIntosh. He's qualified 2nd, and now he's even struggling to hold on to 3rd.
Yeah, Lee Southall already behind him at the moment. I don't know who kind of got it was the grey car in the background that had a bad start. I think it was Tom Burnett, I think, who didn't get away off the grid, and we saw some cars having to take a void in action. So, yeah, a strong start from Josh Heathwaite, which doesn't really come as a shock, but unfortunately for Chris McIntosh, has fallen back already in lap 1, but now he's right on the back of Dave Price.
Lots of lockups going into the mountain there. Price is feeling himself, I suppose, in a lofty position here, and McIntosh is going to be applying the pressure to him for a long, long time to come in this race, if indeed he can't make the move quickly. Over the jump they go. Again, got to get that right on the way towards the final 2 turns into the hairpin, turn 17, and then through 18 as well. That's a better run from Price, though, out of the final corner. McIntosh right there, Southall as well. The problem for McIntosh is going to be that he'll have to look in his mirrors just as much as he'll be looking out forward at the moment.
Yeah, so impressed that they all made it. Oh, Heathwaite's got a little bit wide there, giving Southall a little bit of a chance of a sniff, but thinks better of it. Again, I think this is the thing with this track is, like any track really, you kind of push the limits a little bit, you might find yourself in a little bit of trouble. But he's really under pressure from Southall at the moment, which is, again, it's surprising me, but some people aren't great in the first few laps, and then once they find their rhythm, I'm one of those. Once I find my rhythm, I will definitely improve as the race goes on. Again, a few cars locking up there. They do these TCR cars, don't they? They love a little bit of a lock up and keep one of the wheels up a little bit in the air as well. It looks very dramatic, doesn't it?
It does, very much so. Almost too dramatic, I would say. There's a lot of smoke that's created.
It is,
from not very big lockups, but there you go. Really smashes the curbs there, does McIntosh, and he ends up in the grass just a little bit, trying to chase Dave Price through the S's again, over the jump. There it is. I feel like that's a little bit unrealistic, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. So another challenge for these guys to cope with. Heavyweigh's not exactly run away with this race out front. He's less than a second out front ahead of Price with McIntosh next. It's Southall really who's lost out on this lap as they complete lap number 2. They were a front 4, but Southall is nowhere near them again now.
Yeah, didn't catch what happened there. See that something happened to Zera. Yeah, he's got into the pits for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why. So he's now fallen back down to P11. Yeah, Dave Price currently with the fastest lap of the race with 1:30.6, and he set that last time around and Heavyweight was 1:31. So he was approximately half a second quicker last time, which explains why the gap has come down somewhat.
Yeah, that's a pretty sizable advantage. Even though this is a circuit where you can gain or lose quite a lot in one lap, it's relatively long for these cars, about a minute and a half, but more importantly, lots of corners here that are very, very tricky. So it's unsurprising, perhaps. More slides, just a little bit of oversteer here and there as they come through the mountain section and now into the S's themselves. Here they go. McIntosh close to Price here. Look at this from the air as they come into the final couple of corners. This is the problem, though, from Cadwell. You don't have too many opportunities to actually make passes around here, although he's really close into the penultimate corner and the final one as well. There's just no way through there. Far, far too narrow. And when you get out to the more open sections like this, it's far too fast and the braking zones aren't quite there in as much as you need them to make the pass from here. So that just make it all very, very difficult.
It does. There's no real big braking zones here, is there? Where you get an opportunity down a straight like you would in a lot of the more modern tracks. Let's be honest, I wouldn't regard Cadwell as a modern track, and they try and make overtaking a little bit easier. So I think it's all about trying to apply that pressure and potentially using mind games and mind punting someone off, as I can see that Burnett's fallen down to P8. Or no, Gate, they're having a bit of a battle. Let's go. Oh, he's off the track. Okay. Yeah, that'll be what's happening there. So, and then there's that Osworth also off the track as well. So I guess they've had some kind of coming together.
Yeah, they must have done. And either Addy was involved as well, Matthew Addy, or he just benefited from them both going off the road. Certainly up to 6th place now anyway, and was in the vicinity at the time. All that was going on the way towards turn 4. It's the place where you expect to see the moves through here really, although we've not seen too many of them so far from these front guys. This is Lee Southall on board through the S's section, where the on-board makes it look even more ridiculous as they go over there through the final couple of corners. And McIntosh again really close. He seems to be very good at this end of the circuit actually, but it's way too narrow to be good at that part of the circuit. You need to be fast coming through this section. He does look a little bit closer. He's got to have a good turn 1, 2 and 3 to have a chance by 4, I think, here does McIntosh. Otherwise he'll have another lap stuck behind Price. Yeah,
I think you're right. He's unfortunately faster in the bits of the track where overtaking's, I think, near and impossible. Just clocked that Heavyweight just set a new fast lap of the race last time around on the end of lap number 4. That's a 1:30.4. Again, these two are at it. I can see they swapped positions. I don't know if Burnett was let by Addy. Maybe he felt he was at fault or something, because they don't seem particularly close now that we've gone back to them. Lee Southall and Ben Hayes have just set their personal best, so everyone's finding a bit of pace at the moment. The gap at the front had opened up, but it's closed right back down again.
Yeah, it really is yo-yoing, but it's just very difficult to know how you can distance here for Heavyweight in one sense, but on the other hand, how Price is actually going to be able to get through. If McIntosh can't do it, and he's qualified quicker, he looks quicker as well at this stage in the race, and he can't manage it, then Price is going to find this very, very difficult indeed, as even at this latter portion of the circuit where he has got pretty close through the final turn, and Heavyweight with a better run through there, a bit wider from Price as they come over the line. It's over 12 minutes to go, so plenty of time left in this race, more than half of this race remaining, but no change here out front. There's the answer, 31.2 from Heavyweight that time.
Yeah. And Dave Price did a 1:37, and so did McIntosh. So they're all such similar pace, Price and McIntosh, and I think that's also going to make Chris's life a little bit difficult because he hasn't got enough overspeed or enough time in his bucket, so to speak, to be able to make that move. Right? He's not fast. He's not faster than the car ahead. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It does make sense, yeah. You've got to have that sort of extra advantage at Cadwell maybe than what you have at some other circuits. I mean, last week, for example, at Thruxton, it was an overtaking festival because of the way that circuit is designed and the way that it races, as McIntosh himself goes a little bit wide there. It's just very, very, very different here tonight from Cadwell Park. You can imagine that this is probably a little bit more like the future weeks than what the last week's race was, actually. When you look at Brands Hatch and Croft, the last 2 rounds of this championship, I can see them being more like this than the all-out overtaking we saw at Thruxton last week. So they better sort of buckle in for this kind of racing, and certainly practice qualifying as much as possible, because that's going to have a big bearing on these race results.
Yeah, indeed. I don't think it's, unfortunately for Lee Southall, I don't think he has the pace to keep onto the back of the trio at the front. He's slowly dropping off, but for him, Hayes is a good 10 seconds further back, so he's got a nice cushion there. So he doesn't really have to push. He can quite easily just sort of sit in position, and as long as he doesn't lose focus, because sometimes when you take your foot off the gas too much, you can kind of lose that focus. But I don't think he has enough at the moment, unfortunately, to keep up with Haythwaite, Price and McIntosh.
Absolutely. Well, just about to cross the halfway mark in this race now, the Virtual Circuit Racing TCR Championship from Cadwell Park, and it's Josh Haythwaite who has been leading every lap so far. He got pole earlier tonight with a brilliant late lap, and he's now leading this race relatively comfortably over the birthday boy Dave Price and Chris McIntosh, who's in 3rd place as well, down 1 place on where he qualified, but it's always going to be very, very difficult for him to keep his place, to be honest, considering the starting position on that outside the front row. It's a very narrow starting position here at Cadwell Park, very narrow front straight, and so field got split apart pretty much immediately, and a lap later they start to leave Lee Southall behind these 3, which has just broken them away from the rest of the field. Only Juan Tercera has retired from the race, unfortunately. We saw him exit the pit lane earlier on. Sadly, he's had to retire completely from this race, but is our only retirement so far. So still 10 in the race, and 9 minutes for them to try and make an overtake, but at the moment it's looking very, very tricky.
Yeah, it does, as we can see that McIntosh again pushing the limits of the track there. It's when you're really not making gains, you can kind of sometimes fall into the trap of overdriving. It's something that I'm very, very guilty of. I try and drive the car ahead rather than what I'm doing, and then I miss braking points. I maybe go a little bit too deep and miss an apex here and there, or Chris McIntosh for me is looking a little bit ragged at the moment. I think he just needs to be mindful of that. Because he's losing time now. That gap's opened up a little bit.
Yeah, I do feel like that's been the case actually throughout this race for McIntosh, ever since he lost second, and there he is again. Oh no, and he cuts the chicane there. Well, I'm not sure he's going to receive anything for that, because it is grass and whatever after all, but he went up the mountain there on the grass, and these cars are very powerful in relative terms, of course, compared to road-going machines, and as far as race cars go, they're not, but it had more than enough to pull him up the hill there with absolute ease, and just shows, I think, backs up your point immediately there that McIntosh is driving a little bit ragged and almost trying too hard here in this race at the moment to try and get past Price.
Yeah, and it's so easily done. It's that's such a thin line as well when you're racing, and like you touched on at the beginning, trying to take advantage of the fact that Traffic King's not here for this round as well, so that might be in the back of his mind that he'd really love that P2, but as things stand, with 7 and a bit minutes to go, I I just don't see it happening. He's not getting onto the back of Price at all at the moment. He was right at the start of the race, but maybe he'll make a challenge in the last couple of laps. Who knows? Oh, as Price then goes really deep there and becomes a temporary lawnmower.
This is the thing that McIntosh has got to be there waiting in close by to try and capitalise on.
Yeah, great word, capitalise. Yeah.
He's got to be there. You know, it's all well and good getting frustrated about being stuck behind, and I can imagine it's really frustrating to be McIntosh or Price in this situation, because, you know, you're just stuck there with really nothing you can do. However, he's got to sort of keep the faith almost, try and almost force him into a mistake, not by crashing into him or anything, but just by getting in the mirrors and trying to put him off. And when there is a mistake like that, you just have to capitalise on it. And, you know, through 6 and 7, it's exactly the kind of place where it might happen, because turn 8 is a decent chance down the hill there on the brakes to be able to get through. But McIntosh wasn't quite close enough because of his previous mistake, and that's what he's got to avoid here. Yeah,
indeed. And Haythwaite also just setting the pace even more so. He just did a 1:30.320, so in that last lap. So great pace as where Dave Price was about half a second back, but Chris McIntosh was only a couple of tenths back, so really found the pace in that last lap. But I think that might be because, as we saw, Dave Price went quite deep, and he's off again as well there. So yeah, he's looking a little bit ragged at the moment. So maybe the tables have turned.
Yeah, and maybe this is a legacy of McIntosh being there for so long, just hovering around, and the press is starting to get to him here 15 minutes in. This is the length, of course, of the races when we have multiple on one evening. We've only got the one tonight. I think the drivers at the front here will be pleased we don't have a reverse grid at this racetrack, because that could be very difficult indeed for those to come through. Although generally they do seem to manage somehow at whichever circuit we're at. Admittedly, none of them has been quite like Cadwell Park just yet. Probably worth saying that. As they come out to the final corner now, just less than 5 minutes to go, means 4 laps to go here for these guys. Over the line for Haythwaite, 31.1. He's been reeled in a little bit by those, but it's McIntosh who was quickest. And now he's going to go all out in these final 4 laps to try and do something.
Yeah, he's right on the bumper now, isn't he? As we were saying, that's where he really needs to be. Where we see, to your point, where we see Price run a little bit wide. Unfortunately for McIntosh, he's not been there to take those opportunities. So, yeah, let's, like I said, I did wonder whether he was holding back a little bit. And, you know, sometimes you can find a little bit of pace in the last couple of laps. So, the fight is on, and whether he can mind punt Price and not actually physically punt him and get into P2. All to fight for.
It certainly is all to fight for here. And it's been a good close race. It is a shame that they've not really been able to overtake each other. Maybe we were overselling the overtake we might see around this circuit in qualifying. When you said it looks like a very narrow circuit, I was trying to defend it. Maybe I shouldn't have done, because it has turned out at the moment to be very, very narrow and very, very difficult. There goes McIntosh off the road again a little bit there. Again, these are the things he's got to avoid. He's got to stay close, keep the faith with Price. And although time is running out, Haythwaite off. Haythwaite, dearie me. Now he has to go on the defensive through the final couple of corners. And now it gets interesting. McIntosh tries to follow through as well.
Yeah, unbelievable. That came out of nowhere, didn't it? Unbelievable. Haythwaite made a mistake. And it just so he did a 1:32.1 because of that as well. It just shows you how quickly you can very nearly throw it away. The pressure's on all 3 of them now. So yeah, and unfortunately for McIntosh, he wasn't able to take advantage. And I think that's because Price was trying to make a move, and that kind of scuppered McIntosh's opportunity. But he's really close at the moment.
Is he going to go for the inside at turn 4? He's got to. Surely he's got to. He's been waiting all this time for a chance, and now he's got... it's late on the brakes. And here comes Price on the exit. He's just got his nose down the inside, but McIntosh will go around the outside. He will finally return to where he qualified. That took a lot longer than what he would have been hoping for here. But there was the first sign of an error from Haythwaite. Certainly the biggest error we've seen any of these 3 make so far today. And that may well just give McIntosh a bit of faith to push on here again and try to get into the lead of this race in the final 2 laps. We'll get 2 laps to go at the line.
Yeah, unbelievable opportunity taken there. Fantastic stuff. And now, you know, with 2 minutes to go, has he got the noodles to stay in P2 and potentially make a move for P1? He's right on the back of Haythwaite already. Is Haythwaite struggling all of a sudden?
Yeah, is he trying to slow down? Has he got enough fuel? I don't know what's going on at the moment, because this race is going to go on for another lap. They're only just over 1 lap time's amount of time remaining, so I wonder whether he's been caught out here. You wouldn't imagine so, because well, we'll see at the end of this lap, I suppose, but you wouldn't imagine so. He's just been reeled in at the very wrong moment, though, as they come through elegantly through turn 1 and 2 and 3. When you see someone get these corners right, it does look like a very, very good circuit to drive indeed, as McIntosh gets into the slipstream again for the 2nd lap in a row. He's closing on the way towards turn 4. This time he's not as close, though. It was very late on the brakes when he was battling Price there. So he'll hope to replicate that, and it will have to be the last lap if he's going to do it from here now.
Yeah, he needs to try and just get a little bit closer and see if he can repeat the move that he did on Price. It seems to be in this section that Haythwaite, the last couple of laps, has been struggling. So it'll be interesting to see if he struggles again and gives McIntosh a bit of a sniff.
He's certainly feeling the pressure now after those previous mistakes that have been made in this race, which he may come to rue later. Oh, wide again for McIntosh. He's got to stop going wide through the mountain, because this is the section where he's most likely to get it wrong. If he does this time, whether he takes it a bit slower in order to get it right. No, McIntosh actually takes it a lot faster. Maybe that's where he's gaining all his time, although his exit isn't quite going to be as good. They will get 1 last lap to go in a moment. Just seconds remaining here from Cadwell Park, and it's Haythwaite with 1 more lap to hold on here, and he does start with a decent head start actually over McIntosh and Price.
Yeah, Price now right on the bumper of Chris McIntosh once more. So Chris has now got to be mindful of that Price might get an opportunity to take that P2 back off him. And as you say, this is the final lap, and there's hardly anything really in the grand scheme of things splitting these 3 apart.
Yeah. It's barely anything at all. Here comes Price trying to avenge that overtake earlier. Oh, he has a bit of a squeeze there. It was on a very tight line, and he didn't have much space to play with on the inside of turn 4 at all. But McIntosh just about edges him out, and that will certainly benefit Haythwaite, who surely is going to go on to win from here. Though, having said that, he has made mistakes in this final sector in the recent past, so let's hope that he does not repeat and he closes out this one, because he deserves it. He's soaked up the pressure for 20 minutes effectively. And at the moment he looks like he's going to come out on top into the final couple of corners now. Again, smoke being kicked up as they come through the mountain section over the top of the hill. McIntosh with no such mistake this time. He's going to fly through here, isn't he, through Hall Bends. He has done in previous laps. He's a bit offline to begin with, actually, so you worry about what's going to happen at the end of this. In towards the penultimate corner. There was the last chance really, although it's super narrow. In the background, Dave, Price goes wide. McIntosh tries everything as well, but Josh Haythwaite is going to win here from Cadwell Park. A great display of defensive driving and coming back from his own personal mistakes actually throughout the final sector of that lap a few laps ago. In the end, he holds on to win. Oh, as Matthew Addy is pushed around by a lap car, it looks like, Tom Burnett.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right, yeah, that was Tom Burnett. Yeah, that's unfortunate. He's lost.
Oh, no, it wasn't. Oh, no, it was. Sorry.
It was. Yeah, it was, yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunate because he's lost 2 positions there as well. So he's fallen back to P7. The stewards might have something to say about that.
Yeah.
The driver himself
Hayes
might have
and
something to
Gibbons.
say about that. Yeah. We've got Darryl Moss then crossing the line.
I think that'll be it, actually.
Yeah.
Burnett a lap down will have completed the race. And yeah, as you say, Addy will probably have something to say about that. Admittedly, Addy did gain a couple of places when he was passing people off the circuit before anyway, to be fair. But even so, he will be maybe called into question by a few of his fellow drivers, maybe the stewards as well. But you know, it's one of the YouTube comments actually just coming at the moment. Just I think sums it up perfectly, really. This race, that was tense, that race. It
Yeah.
probably was a better description of it, really. It wasn't, all out action, but my goodness, there was doubt right until the very end there.
These guys having a bit of fun on the in lap after the end of the race. Yeah, fantastic. Getting a bit of air there. Yeah, it was good description. Very, very tense. You didn't know what was quite gonna happen, but also we didn't know if a move was gonna take place between the top three. And fortunately, we stuck with it, and we did see an overtake for P2. So, but congratulations to Josh Haythwaite. A really strong performance there with the win, and to Chris McIntosh in P2, and then Ben. No, it wasn't Ben. It was he's gone from the screen. That's why I've lost him. Who was in third? I've lost names. Price. Thank you. Price for Dave Price. That was it. Dave Price for third. I don't know what. It's on the screen there. I'm looking at the wrong screen. That's what it is. I'm an idiot. Right. Forget me. Forget that I'm even here.
He is there on the podium on his birthday, so we'll chat to him in a moment as well. But I don't know if you can drag people, Paul, but I can't in this Discord. So not entirely sure if you can. Let me
see. I think I can. Yes. Let's start with
okay.
Let's start with Mr. Haythwaite.
Yeah, let's do that. Josh, welcome in. Good to have you with us, and congratulations on the race win tonight from Cadwell Park. It was a tense race, is the word we've used to describe it. How tense were you towards the end there?
Oh, so tense. It was ridiculous. I mean, from the get-go, from the start of practice earlier on in the week to the race starting today, we've all known that it's going to be A, carnage, and B, really tense. So I think we've all just been kind of trying to prepare for the best.
Yeah, and in the end, the best has come for you with the win tonight from Cadwell. I mean, it's 2 weeks in a row now you would have gained points on Traffic King, although King not here today makes it feel a little bit different, of course. How are you feeling about the championship situation now, just closing in before those final few rounds?
Yeah, I mean, with the win today, it's bittersweet. Obviously, I'm ecstatic that I've won and that I've put in a good drive and all that. But at the same time, I'm gutted Traff wasn't here to set the baseline, and I'm gutted Luke couldn't make it because he had to go to a wedding. And I think it would have added that extra little bit of spice to the race that could have even ended in even more joy or utter despair. But with regards to the championship, I'm hoping that I can pull some miracles out. But with Traff being on no ballast next race and it's a double header, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it does feel like an important one next week, doesn't it? That final double header of the season. But for now, Josh, congratulations on your win tonight. Thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us at the end, and we'll see you next week.
Right, thank you very much, guys. Take care.
Cheers.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
That's Josh Haythwaite, the winner tonight from Cadwell Park, holding on from Chris McIntosh, who ends up finishing in second place. Got back to where he qualified. Chris, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Let's go back to qualifying, actually, first of all, before we talk a little bit about your race. Feels obviously like it was really important tonight, and you were you would have known that beforehand as well. But what was that sort of table tennis battle between yourself and Josh Haythwaite like in the final minutes there?
Oh, it was pretty interesting in qualifying. I thought I just had the edge on him, but he came back on the last lap and got it back again. But we've been like that pretty much all the way throughout practice all this week as well, so I was kind of expecting it.
I mean, it was close in the race as well, but how frustrated were you not to be battling with Haythwaite the whole way through and having to work so hard even to get up to second place?
To be honest, we did a couple of test race runs throughout the week, and we kind of expected it to be a very difficult track to be overtaken on. The cars, I don't know what the stream watches it back like, but they're very bumpy inside, so you're sort of hoping for a mistake and then just capitalise on it from there. But unfortunately, another mistake didn't come from Josh, so I couldn't get him.
Well, it was very well driven from him, and indeed yourself as well. You were the only guy to make an overtake that we saw tonight, so
really?
Well done on that. Yeah, it was very, very difficult, as I'm sure you can imagine from your experience yourself, but we were following you most of the race, to be fair, as well. So congratulations on that and getting into second tonight, and thanks for chatting to us at the end of the race as well.
Yeah, no problem, mate. Thank you.
Thanks very much. That's Chris McIntosh. Thanks very much. Second place tonight at Cadwell Park will maybe move ahead of Woodhouse, although maybe not. Of course, with drop rounds to apply later, it will be a little bit different. Finally, though, third and finally, it is Dave Bryce who now joins us from third place tonight. Dave, happy birthday and welcome in. Good to have you with us, and congrats on finishing third place. How was your birthday race tonight?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Sweaty. That was. I don't often find myself in the top three with the likes of Josh and Chris, but yeah, it was good to be up there and know Cadwell myself, so it was good to go to a track where I had some knowledge after the disaster of Thruxton last week.
No fluke for you to end up there either. You qualified up there and raced up with them for the whole race as well. And just how much of a factor was the circuit in this one? How well did you know it coming into it? What's your sort of opinions on Cadwell Park? Was it one you enjoy driving around?
Yeah, it's one I enjoy driving around in real life. And then when it comes to the sim, the track knowledge is there. Obviously, there's slight bumps, car handles different and stuff like that. But overall, the track knowledge of Cadwell's pretty high. Same as Alton Park, which is another good result for me, which they're my local track. So taking that track knowledge into sim racing does help. It really does help. So the two go hand in hand, to be fair. But yeah, it was good overall quality, good overall race. I was a little bit gutted to lose second place, but we made his move. He stuck it out. It was fair. I was more than happy for him to eke past, should we say. I was hoping to get him on the switchback, but just didn't want to chance anything. It's too narrow. The track's just too narrow.
Yeah, it's very, very narrow indeed. Made it very tricky, I'm sure. But congrats on finishing third tonight, Dave. And thanks for coming to chat to us at the end as well, as always.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the stream. Love it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Cheers, Dave.
That's Dave Price, third place here tonight from Cadwell Park in the Virtual Circuit Racing TCR Championship. Again, I think that comment sums it up better than we ever could here, Paul. It was a tense race. Chris McIntosh, to be fair, something that surprised me, that he was surprised. He was the only one involved in an overtake there. I don't know whether he felt that other people would be having more success than he was, but it was just very, very hard out there tonight to actually make passes.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we did see there was a bit of activity further down the grid, but that was generally because somebody had gone wide, or maybe there'd been a little bit of contact. But we were sticking with the top three battle for majority of the race today, and because that's where really what matters is the top three. If there were other close battles happening, we would have taken a look at those. I assure you. But yeah, just one thing I want to be open and honest. I had a bit of a technical issue at the start of the stream, so it sounds like you were talking to yourself for the first sort of few minutes. So apologies about that. But yeah, somebody put a comment in chat, and I realised what was happening. So yeah, I went and fixed that. So that's totally on me. So apologies about that. But yeah, nevertheless, a great race. Interesting track, and I'm really pleased that the drivers kind of backed up what I was saying about how tight it is around here. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Well, I'll back you up on it now. I've seen a race around here as well. To be fair, it's very, very narrow and difficult indeed to overtake. But as I say, that's going to be the character to the final third of this season after a few tracks where it's been all action. I mean, Monza earlier this season speaks for itself, I suppose. But even Thruxton last week was absolute madness. A little bit of a different race, but both have their place. Certainly, the all-out madness overtakes, as do the more tense and tactical and slower races as well. So, very much enjoyed it here tonight once again in the Virtual Circuit Racing TCR Championship. A big thanks to everyone who's been tuned in, as always, on a Friday night. I hope you've enjoyed it. Myself, Ian O'Leary and Paul Glover. It's goodbye from Cadwell Park. We'll see you in 1 week's time at Brands Hatch. Goodbye for now.